The massive display screen in the Galactic Council's observation room flickered with countless stars. Behind the curved desk, Admiral White rubbed his tired eyes. Another routine day of scanning unexplored systems was coming to an end. His blue uniform, decorated with silver council pins, reflected the soft glow of the monitors around him. "Admiral, you need to see this." Officer Green's voice carried an unusual tone of excitement. "We found something in System 2457, third planet from a yellow star." White walked over to Green's station, expecting another lifeless rock, or perhaps a primitive bacterial colony. The holographic display showed a blue-green planet wrapped in white clouds. Nothing remarkable, until he noticed the data scrolling beside the image. "This can't be right," White muttered, leaning closer. "Run the scan again." Green tapped the controls, and the same results appeared. "Sir, the scans are correct. The species on this planet, they call themselves humans, but look at their technological progression timeline." White's eyes widened as he read the data. Most species took thousands of years to progress from basic tools to powered flight. These humans had done it in a fraction of that time. Even more impressive, they had gone from their first powered flight to reaching their moon in just 66 years. "Impossible," White whispered, but the evidence was right there. "What about their current technology level?" Green brought up more screens. "They have primitive space stations, basic satellite networks, and—" He paused, looking troubled. "Sir, they have thousands of different weapon systems. They've split the atom. They have computers, though very basic ones, and they're advancing faster every year." White paced the room, his mind racing. In all his years serving the Council, he had never seen anything like this. Most species followed predictable patterns of development, taking careful, measured steps forward over millennia. These humans seemed to leap forward in bounds, driven by something the scans couldn't quantify. "Show me their entertainment broadcasts," White ordered. What he saw next made him sink into his chair. The humans were imagining technologies they hadn't even invented yet. They called it science fiction. They were planning for the future before they could even reach it. "Sir," Green called out again, "you should see this too. They're military simulations." The screen filled with images of human warfare. Unlike the organized, formal battles of Council species, humans fought with unpredictable tactics. They adapted, they changed strategies, they used terrain and weather to their advantage. They fought at night, underwater, in deserts and jungles. White stood up suddenly. "Get me a direct line to the Council. Now." "Sir." Green looked confused. "Protocol says we should observe primitive species for at least a decade before reporting them." "This isn't a primitive species," White replied, his voice firm. "This is something we've never seen before. And we're not the only ones watching this sector." On another screen, a red dot blinked steadily. An Empire scout ship, just at the edge of the system. They had seen Earth too. "The Empire can't reach them first," White said, more to himself than to Green. "These humans, they could change everything." As the communication line to the Council opened, White gathered his thoughts. How could he explain what they had found? A species that treated war like a science, that learned from every failure, that imagined the impossible and then built it. A species that had done in centuries what took others millennia. "Council members," he began, "I apologize for the emergency contact, but we found something unprecedented. Something that could shift the balance of the war." He took a deep breath. "We've found Earth." The Council chamber fell silent as White began sharing the scan data. He knew that from this moment, the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity was about to step onto a much larger stage, and no one, not even White, could predict what would happen next. All he knew was that they had to reach Earth before the Empire did, because a species that could advance this quickly, that could adapt this fast, could either be their greatest ally or their worst nightmare. The war was about to change forever. Ambassador Reed stood nervously in the landing bay of his ship, adjusting his formal council robes one last time. Through the view screen, Earth grew larger, a beautiful blue marble spinning in space. This was supposed to be a simple diplomatic mission to a primitive world, but nothing about Earth seemed primitive. "Sir," his pilot called out, "we have an incoming transmission." Reed expected a basic radio signal. Instead, a clear holographic display appeared, showing a human in a crisp military uniform. "Council vessel, this is Captain Stone of the Earth Defense Force. We've been expecting you." Reed almost stumbled. They had been expecting them. How? The Council's stealth technology was supposed to be perfect. "We tracked your ships, and the Empire's, 3 months ago." Stone continued, as if reading Reed's mind. "Welcome to Earth. Please follow our guidance beacon to the landing platform." As their ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, Reed saw something that made his heart stop. Hidden in mountains, under oceans, and in orbit were weapons. Lots of weapons. Not primitive missiles, but advanced defense systems that somehow didn't show up on their scans. The ship landed on a massive platform in a place humans called Geneva. A group of humans waited below, led by Captain Stone. Reed noticed they weren't surprised or scared by his alien appearance. They looked prepared. "Ambassador Reed," Stone greeted him with a practiced ease. "We've prepared a meeting room. There's much to discuss." The meeting room was filled with screens showing both Council and Empire ship movements near Earth's solar system. Reed couldn't hide his surprise. "You seem shocked, Ambassador," Stone said, sitting down. "Did you think we wouldn't be prepared? Humans have been thinking about this day for over a century." "I don't understand," Reed admitted. "Your technology level. You shouldn't be able to track our ships." Stone smiled. "You know what helped us? Science fiction." "Fiction?" Reed asked, confused. "Stories. Movies." The Council's Grand War Room fell silent as General Thompson walked in. He was shorter than most aliens there, but his presence filled the massive chamber. Behind him, 3 screens showed the Empire's latest attacks on Council worlds. "You've lost 6 battles in the past month," Thompson said, not bothering with formal greetings. He pointed at the tactical displays. "And I can tell you exactly why." Admiral White, who had first discovered Earth, watched with interest. The other Council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They weren't used to such direct speech. "Your ships always form the same patterns," Thompson continued. He touched the display, drawing lines through the Council's fleet formations. "Look here and here. You're so predictable that a first-year cadet could counter these moves." "We use formations tested over thousands of years," one Council member protested. Thompson laughed, but not uncannily. "That's exactly the problem. You haven't changed your tactics in thousands of years. The Empire knows every move you'll make before you make it." He pulled up new images, these from Earth's military history. "Humans have fought over 20,000 recorded wars. We've learned something important. The moment your enemy can predict you, you've already lost." The Council members watched in silence as Thompson showed them battles from Earth's past. Desert warfare, jungle combat, urban fighting, sea battles. Each time humans faced a stronger enemy, they changed their tactics. "You fight like it's a dance," Thompson explained. "Everything planned, everything perfect. Humans fight like water. We flow around obstacles. We adapt. We find the weak spots." He brought up a simulation of a typical Council battle. "Look at this. Your ships move in perfect lines. Beautiful, organized, and completely vulnerable." With a few taps, he showed how easily these formations could be broken. "But this is how war has always been fought," another Council member said. "And that's why you're losing," Thompson replied. He looked around the room. "How many of you have actually been in a battle? Not watching from a command center, but really fighting?" Few hands went up. Thompson nodded, unsurprised. "On Earth, every military leader has to fight first. We lead from the front. We know what it's like when plans fall apart." That's why we're good at adapting. He pulled up a new display, showing Earth's military training programs. Every day, thousands of our soldiers run combat simulations, not just following orders, but making quick decisions, thinking on their feet, finding creative solutions. The council members watched as human soldiers practiced in virtual battles, making split-second decisions, trying unusual tactics. "We don't just train their bodies," Thompson said. "We train their minds to think differently, to see opportunities, to surprise the enemy." Admiral White stood up. "Show them the space combat simulations." Thompson smiled and brought up a new screen. For 50 years, humans have been playing what we call space combat games. Millions of people spending countless hours thinking about how to fight in space. Without knowing it, we've trained an entire generation of space warfare experts. The council chamber erupted in surprise murmurs. The idea of using games as training was completely new to them. "Here's what we offer," Thompson said firmly. "Let us train your crews. Let us show you how to fight unpredictably. The Empire won't know what hit them." White stepped forward. "The Empire thinks they know everything about council warfare. They've never faced humans before. They don't know about guerrilla tactics, surprise attacks, or psychological warfare." Thompson nodded. "The Empire fights like you do, by the book. But humans," he smiled. "We threw away the book a long time ago." The council leaders looked at each other. Everything they knew about warfare was being challenged. But they couldn't deny the truth. Their traditional methods weren't working. "When do we start?" White asked. Thompson's smile widened. "We already have training programs ready. By the time we're done, your crews will fight in ways the Empire can't imagine." The war was about to change, and the Empire had no idea what was coming. Commander Brooks stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Thunder, watching the enemy approach. 12 massive Empire dreadnoughts moved toward their position, their dark shapes blocking out the stars. Behind him, his crew worked quietly. They had trained for this moment. "They're sending the usual surrender message," his communications officer reported. Brooks smiled. The Empire always did this, demanded surrender before a battle. They were so confident in their superior technology. After all, they only faced 3 small human ships. "Send them our reply," Brooks ordered, "just like we planned." The message they sent was simple: "Come and get us." In the council observation ship nearby, Admiral White watched nervously. He had argued against this battle. 3 human ships against 12 Empire dreadnoughts seemed like suicide, but Brooks had insisted this was perfect. The Empire ships moved closer, forming their standard attack pattern. Their energy weapons powered up, creating beautiful purple glows around their ships. "Now," Brooks said calmly, "show them how humans fight." The 3 Earth ships suddenly split apart. Instead of running away, they did something the Empire had never seen before. They flew straight toward the enemy's formation. "Are they crazy?" someone on the council ship shouted. White watched in fascination as the human ships dove between the Empire vessels. The Empire's energy weapons fired, but the humans moved too fast, too randomly. There was no pattern to predict. "Launch missiles," Brooks commanded. The Empire ship's commanders probably laughed when they saw the primitive projectile weapons. Their energy shields could stop any energy weapon in the galaxy, but they had never faced simple metal and explosives before. The missiles passed straight through the energy shields like they weren't even there. "Impossible." The Empire commander's shocked message echoed across all channels as the first explosions rocked their ships. Brooks spoke to his crew. "Remember your video games. This is just like that. Think creatively. Be unpredictable." The 3 Earth ships danced through the Empire formation. They fired regular bullets, launched missiles, and dropped what looked like space mines. None of these weapons used energy, so none of them could be stopped by energy shields. "Their shields are only designed to stop energy weapons," Brooks explained over the comm to the watching council ship. They never thought anyone would be primitive enough to use physical projectiles. The Empire ships tried to regroup, but they couldn't handle the chaos. Their computers couldn't predict where the Earth ships would go because the humans weren't following any pattern. Each captain made their own choices, used their own tricks. "This is impossible," the Empire commander transmitted again. "You're not following any known combat protocols." "That's because we don't have any," Brooks replied cheerfully. "We're making this up as we go." Within 20 minutes, 4 Empire ships were badly damaged. 3 more had mysterious devices attached to their hulls, simple magnetic bombs that their sensors hadn't even recognized as weapons. "Retreat," the Empire commander ordered. "Retreat immediately." The remaining Empire ships turned and fled, leaving their damaged companions behind. On the Council observation ship, no one spoke. They had just watched 3 primitive ships drive away 12 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Brooks contacted Admiral White. "Sorry about the mess. We can help clean up." White found his voice. "How? How did you do this?" "Simple," Brooks replied. "We used everything the Empire thought was worthless. Simple weapons, random movements, each captain making their own choices instead of following a program. The Empire thinks war is about having the best technology. Humans know it's about using what you have creatively." He looked at the battlefield, where the Earth ships were already helping capture the damaged Empire vessels. "Want to know the best part?" Brooks added. "These were just our basic tactics. Wait until you see what else we've got planned." White looked at the human ships, so small compared to the Empire vessels, yet so effective. The Empire had just learned a hard lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the best technology, but the one who thinks differently. The real war was just beginning. Lieutenant Walker looked nothing like a warrior. She sat in her command chair, typing rapidly on 3 different screens while drinking coffee. On her main screen, 30 Empire ships approached the human defense line. But she wasn't worried. She was playing a game. "Ma'am," her second-in-command said nervously, "the Empire fleet is almost in range." Walker nodded, still typing. "Did you know I spent 10 years playing video games professionally before joining the military?" The crew looked at each other, confused. This wasn't the time for stories about games. The biggest Empire attack force they had ever seen was heading straight for them. In games, Walker continued calmly, "The best players aren't the ones who memorize all the moves. They're the ones who can create chaos and use it." She pressed a final button. On the huge space map in front of them, hundreds of small dots appeared. They were simple drones, each about the size of a car, built from spare parts and old satellites. "Release the drones," Walker ordered. "Random pattern Delta." The drones shot forward, moving in ways that seemed completely crazy. Some spun in circles, others zigzagged, and some just flew straight ahead. The Empire ship's computers tried to track them all and crashed from the overload of random data. "Their targeting systems are designed to find patterns," Walker explained, sipping her coffee. "So we give them so many random movements that their computers can't handle it." The Empire fleet, unable to target anything properly, began firing randomly. Their energy weapons lit up space like fireworks, but hit nothing. "Now for the fun part," Walker said. She typed another command. Each drone suddenly released thousands of tiny metal pieces, simple things like nails and small bolts. But in space, even a tiny piece of metal moving at high speed could damage a ship. The Empire ship's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did nothing against the cloud of speeding metal. Their beautiful hulls were soon covered in small holes. "This is impossible," the Empire commander broadcasted. "You're not following any logical battle strategy." Walker laughed. "You're right. We're using chaos theory instead." She turned to her crew. "Fire the main guns." The human ships, hidden behind a cloud of drones and metal, opened fire. Their simple projectile weapons, guided by targeting computers that played like video games, hit the confused Empire ships perfectly. In the council command center nearby, military leaders watched in amazement. How are they doing this? One alien commander asked. Their tactics make no sense. Admiral White, who had learned to trust human methods, smiled. They're not using tactics. They're using chaos as a weapon. Look at their battle map. It's like a video game. Indeed, Walker's control screen looked more like a game than a military command system. She moved units with quick clicks, adjusted attacks with simple commands, just like she had done in competitions for years. Send in the cleanup crews, Walker ordered as the last Empire ships retreated. Her drones were already collecting the metal debris. Humans didn't believe in leaving trash in space. When Admiral White came to congratulate her, Walker was teaching some council officers how to play old space combat games on their computers. This is how we train now, she explained to White. Games taught us to think creatively, to use chaos, to make quick decisions. The Empire's computers can't predict what we'll do because even we don't know what we'll do until we do it. White watched the alien officers learning to play. They were terrible at first, too focused on finding patterns and following rules. But slowly they began to understand. The Empire thinks warfare is about order and patterns, Walker said, helping an alien officer with their game. Humans know better. Sometimes the best pattern is no pattern at all. As she spoke, reports came in from across the galaxy. More Empire fleets retreating. More victories for human chaos tactics. The Empire's perfect order was falling apart against humanity's beautiful chaos. The war had reached its turning point. Admiral Black stood at ease in front of the Empire's high command, a small smile on his face. The massive room, with its perfect geometric shapes and rigid order, was filled with nervous Empire leaders. Behind him, a large screen showed defeat after defeat at the hands of human forces. "Gentlemen," Black said, "I'm here to discuss surrender." The Empire leaders laughed, but their laughter sounded forced. Scared. "Surrender." The Empire's supreme commander spoke. "We have 10,000 ships. Humans have barely 100. Black nodded. "True, but we don't need ships to defeat you." He pulled out a small device. "We just need this." "A weapon?" someone asked nervously. "No," Black smiled. "Television shows, movies, books, human entertainment." He pressed a button. The screen behind him started playing old human movies, science fiction shows, comedies, news programs, stories about revolutions, about freedom, about choosing your own path. The Empire leaders watched in horror. "We've noticed something interesting," Black continued. "Your empire is built on perfect order, everyone following rules. Nobody thinking differently." He gestured to the screen. "Humans are built on chaos, on choices, on asking questions." One Empire leader stood up, shaking. "Turn it off. Our people cannot see this." "Too late," Black said calmly. "We've been broadcasting human entertainment to your outer colonies for the past month. Want to know what happened?" He showed them reports from Empire worlds. People asking questions, workers wanting choices, young Empire citizens demanding the right to choose their own jobs, their own lives. "Your perfect order is already breaking down," Black explained. "Your people have discovered something you tried to hide from them, the power of choice." The Supreme Commander slammed his fist down. "This is why we should have destroyed Earth immediately. Their chaos is infectious." "Exactly," Black agreed. "You can't fight an idea. And humans? We're full of ideas." He showed more images, Empire soldiers trying new battle tactics they learned from captured human movies, Empire scientists asking questions instead of following old rules, Empire citizens dancing, singing, creating art. "Stop," the Supreme Commander shouted. "What do you want?" Black's smile widened. "Simple. Surrender. Give your people freedom to make choices. Or what? Or we release our most powerful weapon." Black held up another device. "Social media. The color drained from the Empire leaders' faces. They had seen reports about human social media, how it spread ideas faster than light, how it connected people, shared thoughts, created movements. "You wouldn't dare," the Supreme Commander whispered. "Try me," Black replied. "One press of this button, and every Empire citizen gets access to human social networks. They'll share ideas, make jokes, question everything." He paused. "They might even start posting memes." The Empire leaders huddled together, talking frantically. They had planned for weapons. They had planned for battles. But they had never planned for ideas. "What are your terms?" the Supreme Commander finally asked, defeated. Black handed them a simple document. Freedom for all Empire citizens. The right to choose their own paths. And he smiled again. Unlimited access to human streaming services. "You're destroying thousands of years of perfect order," one leader complained. "No," Black corrected him. "We're introducing something better. Freedom to create your own order." As the Empire leaders signed the surrender document, Black's communicator beeped. It was Admiral White from the Council. "Did it work?" White asked. "Like a charm," Black replied. "Turns out the Empire wasn't afraid of our weapons. They were afraid of our ideas." Looking at the Empire leaders signing away their power, Black realized something important. Humans hadn't won the war with superior firepower or better technology. They had won it by being themselves, unpredictable, creative, and free. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what humanity did best, changing things. 1 year after the Empire's surrender, the Galactic Council's main hall looked very different. Gone were the rigid seating arrangements and formal ceremonies. Instead, representatives from all species sat where they wanted, talking freely and sharing ideas. Professor Brown, Earth's new cultural advisor, watched from her podium as a former Empire child showed a council elder how to play a video game. In the corner, a group of aliens were watching human movies, laughing at comedies they would have feared just a year ago. "Quite a change, isn't it?" Admiral White said, joining her. Brown nodded. "Did you ever think the war would end like this? Not with big battles, but with TikTok videos and Netflix." White laughed. "The Empire spent thousands of years building the perfect ordered society. Then humans came along and introduced them to cat videos and pizza." On the main screen, reports from across the galaxy showed the changes. Former Empire worlds were transforming. People were choosing their own jobs, creating their own styles, thinking for themselves. Some planets had even started their own social media platforms. "We've created something new," Brown said, pointing to a group of young aliens wearing Earth-style clothes and playing with smartphones. Not Earth culture, not Empire culture, but something in between. A small alarm beeped on White's device. "Ah, it's time for the big announcement." The hall grew quiet as Admiral Black, now the head of the new Galactic Peace Force, took the stage. Behind him, a giant screen showed a beautiful new ship. "Ladies, gentlemen, and all other beings," Black began, "I'm proud to introduce the first ship of our new fleet, built by both former Empire and Council engineers, using human creative design." The ship on screen was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. It had the elegant lines of Empire technology, the advanced systems of the Council, and the practical, adaptable design humans were known for. "But the real achievement isn't the ship," Black continued. "It's who's going to crew it." The screen changed to show the crew, a mix of humans, former Empire citizens, and Council species, all trained together, all learning from each other. A year ago, this would have been impossible. Black said, "The Empire would never work with others. The Council would never break tradition. But humans taught us something important. The best way to grow is to share ideas." Professor Brown watched as the new crew demonstrated their skills. They didn't follow rigid patterns like the old Empire, nor did they stick to ancient traditions like the Council. They combined all their knowledge to create new, better ways of doing things. And now, Black announced, the moment that truly shows how far we've come. The screen showed something that made everyone in the hall gasp. The first intergalactic restaurant chain, Earth Food and Space BBQ, was opening on 1,000 worlds, serving human food with alien twists. We didn't just end a war, Brown said quietly to White. We started a revolution, not with weapons, but with ideas. White nodded. The Empire feared humans would destroy their perfect order. Instead, we helped create something better, freedom to choose what order you want. As the presentation ended, Brown watched the hall again. Former enemies were sharing meals, telling jokes, planning businesses together. Young aliens were teaching older ones about human music, while human teachers learned ancient alien wisdom. You know what the best part is? Brown said. We're still changing, still growing, still finding new ways to do things. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy, White replied. Not our technology or our weapons, but our ability to adapt, to change, to try new things. Outside the hall, the sun was setting on a galaxy that would never be the same. But unlike the Empire's forced order or the Council's rigid traditions, this change was natural, organic, chosen freely by each person. Humanity had arrived in a galaxy of perfect order and predictable patterns. They left behind something much better. A galaxy where everyone was free to find their own path, make their own choices, and write their own story. The war was over. The future was just beginning.